Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson. Am I even wearing this right? I've never actually worn a tube top, and I don't know if I actually want to because my breasts are not supported. But I'm trying this anyways, and we're going to talk about the proper way to transition and how I do it again, because this is kind of like a super important topic. And if wherever you are in your transition, this might be helpful because we're going to cover some meta principles and some things to do that might make your transition better, easier. Also, by the way, I wrote a book on this, which I don't cover these topics in. I cover other topics, more on the personal growth side. But if you'd like that, you can download that now. Also, shout out to my patrons who supported me for this. This is a topic that y'all voted on as kind of one of the top topics. So, how to do it again. All right, so first thing I do is if I start my whole process over again, I would rewind back for 5 years to right before I even identified as transgender. And I started hormones about 3 years ago. But 5 years ago, I'd say, all right, you got to start meditating and doing energy work now. That's the first thing I would tell myself, because creating a relationship with your body, creating a relationship with energy, and creating this mindfulness practice in the mornings or somewhere else is going to help you evolve and build a brain that's going to give you stability in when you get through those rocky parts in your experience. And also, it's going to give you more energy to transform in an alchemical way spontaneously. And that will help you really move through your transition at a much faster rate, because I don't know how to describe this, but when you are, I don't know if you've experienced energy before. Maybe our definitions of energy are different. But have you ever kind of said, the energy there just felt really good, or the energy in that space, or that person just had really bad energy? That's some form of energy, but there's also an internal energy. Sometimes you feel energized, sometimes you don't feel energized, sometimes you feel slow. Those are kinds of energy, and consciously working through them. And you can look up opening your chakras. That's the first one I would recommend for anyone who's never experienced energy. Just doing a 7 chakra meditation will start getting your brain in touch with saying, hey, there's something there. I should actually pay attention to that, and reprogram your reality filter where you say it doesn't exist or can't perceive it. But those would be kind of the most important things, is meditating and energy work, because it's going to be a foundation for your transformation as you move through this process. The next thing that I would say is look for job opportunities or skills that you can develop for making lots of money. This is kind of, I think, something that a lot of people think, but as a trans person, being trans is especially expensive. If you want to get all of the surgeries, which you may not know if you want them yes or no yet, because I certainly didn't. I didn't want breast surgery. I didn't think I needed face surgery. I'm still working through the process of figuring out my vaginoplasty. I just didn't know. So, but what I did know is I knew that I was tired of being poor, and that making enough money to pay off my student loan every month and that's it was not a life that I wanted to live. And so I was tired waking up in a dirty apartment in an unsafe neighborhood and having not such a good time, feeling depressed. And instead, I kind of struck out on trying to start a business with a friend, and ended up moving to San Francisco and realizing that the more specialized and the deeper that I could get into tech, the more opportunity there was for me to make more money and to do something that I thought was actually pretty engaging for my thinking and how I see the world. So I'm not saying you need to go into tech, but that's a huge area of opportunity where there's a lot of lack of skilled people being able to provide that service, and you can work from anywhere. I work here in Berlin, and I can work for an American company in America, and that's cool. So finding areas where you can be making lots of money is going to help you a lot. It's not a requirement, but the more specialized you get, the more likely people are going to want to pay you money for that, and pay you more money for that, ideally. So if you can find those opportunities and you can make them happen, all the opportunities that I've had, I have made them happen. Nothing was handed to me. I had no experience in tech. I taught myself and I made my way. So there's sort of like this underlying principle as well. Like, do you have that can-do attitude? Can you make that happen? Have you had enough experiences and trauma in your life that you've been able to evolve and move through that gives you strength and the ability to approach reinvention and recreation in your career as a way of moving forward? So that's something I would definitely do. The next thing is stabilize your home environment. This is super important because you're going to be going through a lot of like difficult change, and there's a lot of safety required to go through this process, and you need a place to feel safe. If you can't find that in your home environment, at least find some place where you can be safe. So when you feel like you need to go in your chrysalis to transform, you have that place to allow yourself not just the safety around you, but the safety within you. I think that's probably one of the harder things to find, is when you feel safe inside you to let go of the things that you don't want, to let go of inner transphobia and to evolve and move past that. Does that make sense? The next thing after that, it would be start voice training. If you're male to female, start voice training immediately. I see so many trans women forget about this and not do anything, and then they kind of transition. They go through their entire process and they've basically made up the most feminine version of their voice that they can without any training or practice or effort really exerted. First of all, the thing with that is your voice may not sound that good. And second of all, you haven't put in the internal work to changing how you express yourself in the world through your voice, which is super important because we need more trans voices out there. And if you haven't evolved your own self-perception and relationship with your voice, I feel like there's something that's an untapped opportunity for you to grow on. So starting voice training early is good because voice training takes a while. It took me 6 months to stabilize at a voice, and it's taken me another year or so to really fine-tune that, and I'm still adjusting and making that better. But by allowing myself to shift from something more like it's hard for me to like even go down this deep, but like when you identify within a voice that sounds like a lot deeper, and I think I spoke more nasally and stuff. Yeah, like when I would speak more like this, it's easier to kind of, it's harder to let go of some of the parts of you that you have identified with and connected with that make you you. And this is super important to inner transformation more than anything. It's not so much about passing so much as it is about inner transformation. That's my highly opinionated stance. I'm not saying you need to change your voice, but I would highly recommend it, because in doing it, it actually changed my relationship with how I could express my femininity and how I could express myself. And that actually changes how I interact with the world and what I can talk about, which is awesome. I would grow my hair out. Get your hair growing, and also don't underestimate the power of haircuts. I was non-passing for quite some time, and getting a haircut changed that a lot. When I got bangs and I could hide my forehead, that was like a big step forward. Also, do laser and start doing laser if you're MTF, because your hairs are going to be thicker, and you should do laser now because they're easier to get. And also do your legs too if you can afford it. Buying the razor, and I calculated this, and the investment is still a little bit high, but buying a razor the rest of your life and continuing to shave that way is going to be more expensive than doing laser and eliminating most of it. And it's also a lot less wasteful of water. So if you can afford to do it up front, do it. I am like in the process of going to be doing that and paying for it. It's just a lot of money, you know. Journal and do this at least monthly, as well as a video check-in talking about the good and the bad. This is really cool because when you check in, it may not seem like you're getting very far, but every time you feel like you're not getting anywhere, you can go back a couple months and say, wow, I was such a different person. When you go through a transition, there's so much change and adaptation, and you go so fast that you don't even realize how fast and how far you've come from just the previous week or previous few weeks. When you do a video, you actually get to see how you express and how you think, which contributes a lot of understanding of the nuance of who you've become now versus who you were back then. And then I would start telling your story. Don't wait to be like, 3 years transitioned like me. I wish I started telling my story before I even began transitioning. It's super valid. It's super helpful for other people that are in a similar situation. And having a sense of community appearing, I think would be really helpful. The thing that frightened me is all the hate I would get online, but you don't get that hate unless you're more famous or you have more followers. I've just hit some kind of inflection point around 5,000 subscribers on YouTube where now I'm getting haters showing up. And they mostly hate me because they think, I don't know. I think they're just in pain. Honestly, there's pain that they have, and they're just trying to target me because I look like a good target for their own pain that they're trying to enact. And then hang out with friends and go out to events. I should have mentioned this earlier, but establishing a friend network is super important. And going out to hang out with them and going out to events is also going to help. The reason why I mention this is because events are sort of like these spaces where you can experiment a little. It's a different space. There's more liquidity and perception and experience. And that's going to give you opportunity to be more liquid and experimental in how you perceive yourself and who you can be. You can dress up a little bit more. You can put on makeup. You can wear that dress that you're afraid to wear, or wear that look, or be this kind of person. You can experiment in your own persona, and that's going to help you find the parts of yourself when you get the this feels right moment. Do you know what I mean? Those moments where you have that epiphany of, oh, this is me. Those moments are really going to help you pull together all the components that are going to make you more of who you are and get rid of all of the inauthentic parts of you that are not who you are. I'm going to make a video on that specific topic because that's super important, but not for today. Experiment with dating. If you're single, experiment with dating, not to find the right one, but to learn about yourself and to learn what you like and what you don't like. This next one, cherish the pain. So, cherish the pain and the joy. Transitioning is super painful. You're going to have a lot of problems. It's going to hurt, but it doesn't hurt forever, and it's not always going to be the same thing. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but the pain that I had in my experience, I will never have that same kind of pain. Sometimes it feels like it, but it's not the same. And the joy also is not going to be the same, but it's both worth cherishing because it's a once in a lifetime experience. It is the most powerful experience that I think anyone can go through. People talk about these massive transformations of taking ayahuasca and going on these ceremonies for like a week and how different and changed they are. Try changing your gender over years, okay? And try changing your gender over years, not in an idealized space where it's just cultivated for you to change, but where in society you have to operate differently and experience things differently. I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is the most intense transformation you will ever go through. And it's a shame if you don't journal and see and reflect and experience all of it for what it is, the pain, the suffering, and all the goodness in there as well. Don't be selective in what you remember from this experience. The good and the bad are all a part of this experience, and that will give you tools and things that you can share with the rest of the world to make it a better place. My experience of my pain gives me the empathy and the frameworks that I can apply myself to help you, for example. And that was something that I personally found a lot of meaning through going through this process. And I don't know if I would have made it through if I didn't have that meaning. The last thing, I just kind of mentioned it, write and share what you learn. That's really good because as you learn things, you can internalize that, and sharing it forces you to relearn it and to turn it into something that is digestible and understandable for other people. That's it. Those are kind of like the big steps that I would recommend you do Thank you for joining me today. This was a patron-supported video, and if you'd like to support me, you can hit the Patreon button down below. You can download my book, and you can hang out with me on Discord. Why not? I will see you in another video soon. Bye!